ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်နော်အခုလိုမျိုးပါဝယ်ပေးနေတဲ့တူဦးချင်းတယောက်ချင်းစီကိုကျေးဇူးတင်တဲ့ပြင်အတိအမှတ်လည်းပြုပါတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့တော်လှန်ရေးကဒီထဲကလူတစ်ယောက်မှရော့သွားလို့မဖြစ်ပါဘူးဒီထဲကလူတူဦးချင်းတယောက်ချင်းစီရဲ့ပါဝယ်မှုနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့နိုင်ငံကိုအကောင်းဆုံးဖြစ်တဲ့နိုင်ငံခေါင်းတော်အောင်သားစုကြည့်ပြောသလိုခေါင်းမော့နိုင်တဲ့နိုင်ငံဖြစ်အောင်အားလုံးဝိုင်းပြီးကြိုးစားကြပါစို့လို့တိုက်တွန်းရင်းနဲ့ကျွန်တော်နေကိုချုပ်ပါတယ်ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်
ပြီးတော့ပြောကြပေးသွားတယ်ဆရာကြီးကိုကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်ကျမတို့ announce speaker တယောက်ကိုထပ်ခေါ်ပေးမယ်ပေါ့နော် So our next speaker is another member of the House of Lords and it's co-chair of the all-party parliamentary group on democracy in Burma. She has traveled through war zones and has seen firsthand the tragedy of conflict and the importance of humanitarian aid and support. In 2004, she founded the Humanitarian Aid Relief Trust to provide aid and advocacy for those suffering from oppression and persecution across the globe. And in Parliament, she has been a vocal supporter of human rights and political freedom in Burma. Please welcome Baroness Cox.
It is a great privilege and a great joy to be with you here today. I love your people. I have been many times to different parts of your country. We supported people in Kachin, in Shan, in Chin, in many states. And as I say, your people have such courage and such dignity. I have great admiration for you, and you are always in my heart. Today, I bring a message from Dr. SaSa. I'm sure you probably know who Dr. SaSa is. I've known Dr. SaSa for many years, when he was a medical student in Armenia, and he had a tough time because he brought up in the Chin Hill tribes, and of course there was no education there because it was too rough for teachers to go. So he was sent down to Rangoon, Yangon, for high school, lived between a cow and a stinking toilet. Then he had to go to India and had to learn 2 Indian languages. Then I met him in Armenia, studied medicine in his now 5th language. But we are great friends. He always calls me, it makes me very humble. Sweeter than honey mama. So I'm very, very happy. And I have a message from SaSa. It's a long message, and I probably will read parts of it, and then you can read all of it. It'll be on the website, and so on. This is his message for today. And he says, can you all hear me? Okay? Thank you. He says, today marks the 2nd anniversary of the brutal failed coup which gave birth to the Myanmar people's spring revolution against the genocidal military dictatorship. Despite the mass atrocities, horrific war crimes, and crimes against humanity committed by the junta, the people of Myanmar have continued to resist with bravery and courage, and to build a democracy which remains unshakable, as indeed the peace that has been a rallying cry of every generation. But of course the military generals have been committing every act of terrorism, as you know, in the most humane and barbaric ways imaginable against our people. This is all from Dr. SaSa. Even just yesterday, our brave Karen, I've been to Karen State many times, beautiful but so sad, our brave Karen people marked 74 years in their fight for freedom and federal democracy against the terror of military dictatorships. In the last 2 years alone, over 9,000 terror attacks on innocent Myanmar people by the terrorist military junta forces have been recorded, with more than 3,000 civilians brutally murdered. Our people have faced, as you people, have faced horrible beatings, rape, torture, murder, and even mass immolation or burning. Leading pro-democracy leaders, activists, have been most cruelly executed, and upwards of 20,000 innocent civilians have been arrested and held in the most terrible conditions. And those who took, the brave citizens who took to the streets in protest against the failed coup, to our President U Win Mint, State Counselor Aung San Suu Kyi, and democratically elected members of Parliament, whose only crime was that of daring to take the seats to which the people of Myanmar had elected them. And they all face illegal imprisonment and in horrible conditions. And just a few statistics or figures for you, and you can get copies of this. It's from Dr. SaSa. He sent it yesterday. He said homes, schools, churches, religious buildings, over 36,000, and still counting, have been destroyed, leaving over 1.5 million people homeless, forced to take shelter in the unforgiving jungles, in squalid IDP shelters, and overcrowded refugee camps. Many have fled to neighbouring countries, which they may also face arrest and deportation back to Myanmar, where imprisonment or even execution awaits them. Moreover, the brutal junta of Myanmar, and yet another barbaric move, has escalated this campaign of terror by weaponizing humanitarian assistance and even international aid itself against the more than 17 million Myanmar people who so desperately need it. The junta is forcing international donors and aid workers to channel their assistance through military-controlled networks, where this aid is then stolen, sold off, and the proceeds go to fund further war crimes against the very people it was meant to help. This terrorist junta has all but completely destroyed Myanmar's economy through its terrible policies, restrictions, workforce terrorism, and destruction of labour rights, forcing over half the population, your population, of 54 million into extreme poverty. And I'll just go to the final paragraph. You can make this available so you can read it for yourselves. And here he's saying, we, the people of Myanmar, I love this is his real statement of courage, and faith, and commitment and freedom. We, the people of Myanmar, are absolutely committed to obtaining freedom and federal democracy. We have no future under the iron fist of the genocidal military dictatorships. Our future rests with true federal democracy, and that is the future the collective we, as all of you and all of us who support you, must give to the people of Myanmar. Every act of terrorism and attempt by the genocidal military to crush us will always be in vain. Such is the strong will of the people who have once tasted the budding of freedom and democracy. And he finishes by saying, our desire for peace and freedom far outweighs, is far bigger than the tyrannical greed of the brutal military generals. And we will never give up our right to this freedom and peace. Together, we will defeat this tyranny, these loathsome oppressors, and put an eternal end to dictatorships on our bloody soil. We will restore our nation and eradicate atrocities, genocides, and juntas. Together, that's all of you and Dr. SaSa and your people in country, we will thrive and flourish and bring our best and brightest to the world stage in the pursuit of justice. And his final sentence, mark my words, a new Myanmar is coming, a Myanmar that will stand strong. Thank you so much. He's one of my heroes, he knows he's one of my heroes, and we've worked together for 15 years in different ways. As you probably know, he went to Armenia to study medicine, and his passion was to train community health workers in Chin State, because there was no healthcare at all. It's so remote, there's no Chin State. This came from Chin State, I love it. But Chin State is high mountains, thick jungles, rivers, and they had no healthcare workers. So when he was a kid, 3 of his best friends died of diarrhea, which is a quick killer if you don't know what to do with it. And they were desperate. So he was then said, you're not allowed in Chin State then, by the military regime, to have education beyond primary. So, because the regime in those days didn't want you people developing your own leaders. Well, he went down to Rangoon and studied in a high school there, and then he finished and trained as a doctor, and then he came straight back to Chin State and set up the organization Health and Hope, which trains the community health workers. And they trained over 1,000 community health workers to save the lives of 8 out of 10 people who would otherwise have died. Because the things that kill, you don't know what to do, are things like diarrhea, malaria, septicemia, if you cut your finger. That can be prevented and treated. And so they're taught how to do that. People would die of old age, of course, in remote areas, but they saved the lives of 8 out of 10 people who would otherwise have died. Fantastic. Reaching a catchment area of 250,000 people. That's Dr. SaSa and his people for you. But we have similar wonderful partners in Shan State, in Chin. We love your people, and we spend a lot of our time, we don't go through Yangon, we never get anywhere. We spend our time crossing borders a little bit unofficially, illegally, but we with your people, and we always come back humbled, inspired by your courage, your generosity, your graciousness, and we love you, and you're always in our hearts, thoughts, and prayers. God bless you all.
Thank you.